Well, hello everybody, so welcome to Terrible Tales of Gaming Horror. Today we're talking about the Human Repellent. So this story basically starts with a Facebook forum for RPGs or role-playing. And it was basically the most useless RPG forum out there because many times, including myself, people tried to get a group started and people there seem more inclined to comment about the system than never want to join a group. So I basically gave up on that forum. On Facebook, and one day it just put on a timeline that a guy was looking for Hero Quest players. Alright, and like everybody else out there, probably you'll be thinking this is the Games Workshop Hero Quest. Alright, so I said I wanted to join. I thought it's not uncommon maybe that a person might post a board game for a role-playing place. So the guy then informed me that it was not the GW game that he was talking about, it was actually the Golatra RPG system, which is actually called Hero Quest. Alright, and so he informed me, and then I told him that, oh, would I still be interested? And I said, yeah, I always am interested to play an RPG, just not found a group that actually stuck or continued really. And so I said, okay, so we set it up, and I wanted to play a character that was weaker and all that. He said that's fine, it was story based. So we all got together. He started a Facebook group for that RPG, for Galatra, and basically out of the 5 player members, 2 fell out, and then we got 3. Alright, which is one called Sin, myself, and a guy who I will call R. Alright, this is the Human Repellent. So we all go to the DM's home. Alright, it's arranged, and we arrange the timing and everything. We all reach the DM's home, and basically we got the idea of what we should prepare and everything. And just for note, this is for later, that out of all 3 people who lived near the DM's home, R lives the absolute closest. Alright, for me, I live on the other side of the country, meaning that Singapore is not huge, but there's no straight way to a place in Singapore because it's small. So for me, I had to take a bus, get on a train, get off the train, then walk for about 20 to 30 minutes to get to this guy's home. Alright, so it's a long distance for me. Alright, just keep that note. Then remember that R is the person who lives absolutely closest to the DM. So we're all at the DM's home. Me and Sin are there, and we start introducing ourselves and as normal stuff to the DM, and we start talking to the DM. And then R turns up. Alright, first thing, he comes in, he's somewhat awkward, he's a bit stooped over, and his eyes, I'm not kidding you, we have small eyes, he has Chinese thing, but this guy looks like his eyes are literally half closed, like he's half asleep. Alright, and he comes in, he doesn't even introduce himself, he just kind of straight away sits down, and then it's up to us to introduce ourselves to him. Alright, that's, I guess you can say that people are introverted, that's fine, But then the thing is that the way he introduces himself and everything already didn't seem too interested in us. He's like, we seem to be peripheries to him, And again, this will become clearer later on in the story. So we all introduce him. So after that, we introduce ourselves to him and everything. The DM starts talking to us and, basically asking us about how much we know about the system. Here's the thing, the DM actually knows the people who made Hero Quest. They are his literally personal friends. So when it's asked, him, R, and Sin has actually downloaded the torrent illegally for the books. And here's the thing, Sin is smart enough to at least just keep quiet and say like, yeah, I've looked through the books. Alright, now here's again one of the first things that talks about his social ability. Instantly R laughs and he's like, haha, you downloaded the torrent, right? I mean, was it this guy? He's like making this big scene of this. And here's the thing, like I said, the DM had already told us he knows these people that made this game. Then literally the DM had to stop everybody and say like, guys, what you're doing is illegal, but if you can buy the books because he worked really hard for this system, and it'd be nice if you can support them. And then he just keeps quiet over there. He's literally just silent in the corner, alright, as we're talking and everything. And so all of us start making decisions for the campaign and everything. And then, I can't remember who said it, but one of us turned to him and said, do you have any input? and he's there just, and I'm okay, he's just playing around with the book and all that and his iPad, and he says, I don't care, you all can make all the decisions, alright? All I care about is I want to kill dragons. This will become a recurring theme. Alright, and so the DM looks at him and tells him that he's gonna keep to the world of Golatra. So he informed him that he wanted to stick to the story of the world of Golatra, and let's just say this: dragons in the world of Golatra are literally the size of mountain ranges. And even basically no dragon in the world of Golatra is something you mess with. Even small dragons is like, as one would put it, like a human facing a tank battalion. It's almost impossible. Even if you're blessed by the gods, you are going to have a hard time even against the smallest of dragons in this world. So, it was really hard to reconcile the fact that we were going out to kill dragons in this world. But the DM, he relented a bit. He understood, and he said, like, we'll try to work it in, but no promises as like every week you're gonna kill a dragon or something. And he kept harping on it. And so it got a bit awkward, but we got it through. And as the DM started explaining about the world and everything, he kept interrupting, which is another annoying thing. He kept interrupting, and he kept harping on this point. No matter how much the DM talked to him and said, like, we'll get to it, he kept going, how about the dragons? I want to kill the dragons. When are we going to get to dragons? It's like literally to the point where the DM had to turn to him and talk to him like a 5-year-old. I'm not kidding. He literally had to say, like, R, you need to calm down, and we will get to your dragons, but let's try to finish what's at hand first. It's literally like talking to a 5-year-old, and he would be like, oh yeah, like a 5-year-old, he would just keep saying, what about my dragons? It was really annoying. The next thing is that he so harps on this dragon thing, right? But whenever we turn to him and say, like, what's your input? He said, I have no input. I don't care about any other decision. So it was like, okay, then, like with most of these people, the minute we did make a decision, he would say, actually, I don't like that idea. So it was very frustrating to have to deal with him. So after a while, I kind of turned off on him. Whenever he talked, I just turned my head and everything like that. I wasn't too happy with the guy. I could tell this guy was going to be a problem already. And then I brought a miniature, which I also put a link to my picture below, called Rastavaran, son of Hedvaran. Alright, and I took the miniature to represent this is the kind of character I wanted to play. A bit overweight, plump, and such. And he took my miniature and he started, I didn't notice at the time, but he started to do this, like that. And only when I get home did I notice that he actually was rubbing the miniature so hard, he rubbed away the paint on the nose of the miniature. I know. Here's the thing, I varnish my miniatures with double varnish coats, so it's not impossible to scratch the paint off, but it takes a bit of effort, so take it as how you will. So okay, we get some stuff done, and so the DM after that at the table is done, he says, like, okay, let's go in the room, let's type out all this in the computer. So we go to his study room, alright, and we start discussing stuff again. We make the decision, and then every time we turn to him, he's like, I don't care, you guys made a decision. But he keeps harping on this, I want to kill dragons, I want to do this, dragons. It's like, fuck, who cares about the fucking dragons, alright? Like, if you want the whole dragon, then give us some input. But he doesn't ever care about the input. He only cares about that one dragon. And then it's like, he wants dragons, but we had to figure out details for him. So that night was done, alright? And it was annoying. I knew we were going to have a problem. But, for the most part, the rest of it will seem pretty cool. The DM and Sing. So I decided to just stick around, stick it out. Who knows, things might get better. So we're walking home, and then we get to the train station, and I'm going the other way, thank God. But actually, the other player, Sin, told me that what happened, this is the part where his human relations things starts to become clear. He gets on the train with the guy, who's, if you're going to play an RPG or something, probably going to be playing for a long time with this person, right? He gets on the train with the person and doesn't talk to him. So I literally just stands there, and then Sing is having to do small conversation, and he keeps giving like those one-word answers. So by the time, you know, Singh gets annoyed at this, of course, it just literally to the point where he puts his earphones and they literally get off the train without even saying goodbye. You know, and I don't blame Sin on this. Looking at how this guy reacts to people, it's pretty clear he has no human skills, you know, and he thinks he's better than most people. The next day, this strange thing happens is that he sends friend requests on Facebook to all of us. And, you know, later on I found out nobody wanted to add him. But because we were in the same RPG, it'd be weird not to, right? So we all did. And that's when the flooding began. So here's some social etiquette on Facebook. Don't flood, you know, don't spam people, alright? And that's what he did. First thing he does is that he would post literally entire pages, cut and paste from internet sites of articles, you know. So the pace, because there's word limits, right? It will be several posts in a few minutes. So literally your whole Facebook feed will be his stuff. It'll be like R. You know, or he would take pictures of books from the library and take pictures of page by page. So it'll be, and he would quote random things, you know, and literally he just flooded the Facebook. And on top of that, the worst part is the kind of commentary he was giving. Alright, there was this Games Workshop player. Actually, plays a lot of games. He plays 40k, Warhammer, and board games. But there was this 40k player that came from China. Alright, and he's going to get his permanent residence in Singapore. Fantastic, right? And I've seen this guy on the site before. He seems like a totally nice guy. So he was going to get his permanent residence, and it became big news that, you know, this nice person in the community, he made it basically, you know, got his permanent residence in Singapore. And he started to comment on this guy, saying that why is it we're giving away to people like him, you know, like why are we giving basically our space to these foreigners, you know. That's one thing already. And then he has a lot of social commentary like that, or along the lines of, there was one story which he put up that he trains in MMA or judo, alright, and he has no qualification, but he trains alone because no one would train with him, obviously, with his kind of attitude, and he would do it in the playground alone. And he's the one who's saying all this, not us, okay? And what happened, he went to a community center and said he wants to teach this judo, alright? And so the person in the community center said, okay, sure, show me the qualifications. Then I'm not kidding you, he said in his Facebook post, how dare they, don't they know that I train so hard and I'm already at this level. But he has, of course, no qualification because he only trains by himself, and from a book he loaned from the library. Alright, so even if you're good, there's no proof of it. How can a government body certify you to teach other people? What if someone gets hurt, right? It's pretty obvious. But he couldn't get that through his head. You know, that's the thing, that this guy, he thinks he's better than everybody else. And he has a lot of quotes that basically lambast other people, you know, like the GW 40k game. Why is it these people who I'm going to crush at these games, why do they try to be my friends? Because I'm going to crush them. And I kid you know, he put this in a quite serious tone on his Facebook. So it's flooding and all this bad, horrible social commentary, which is hardly explained to make it fair. You know, I'm nothing wrong with people having a certain view, but you better explain yourself. And for him, he tends to just say his point, but he doesn't address any of the issues. Straight away, after a few days, blocked his entire, you know, feed. We didn't want to have to deal with it, basically, because it was literally flooding. You know, that's already a thing which we found out about his personality, and no one really wanted to deal with him. So we had to go for individual sessions at the DM how to create our character, and we did that. We finished it, fantastic, and then we met for our second session as a group, and this is where the campaign officially began. And so he turns up. Here's some social etiquette on having someone's home. There's nothing wrong with wanting to take a number 2 or a shit in someone's home, alright? But he turned up, and he was late, by the way, just to put it out there. Again, he lives near us. He came in and he wanted to take a shit. And he came in and he, you know, most time you'll be at least apologetic about it. You know, it's a normal process, yeah, but, you know, it's just a thing, a courtesy, right? Like, hey, I'm sorry, but he comes in and he looks at the owner of the home and just goes, I'm going to take a shit. I need to take a big shit. You know, he just walks in. Like, he literally, it feels like he almost thinks like this is his home. You know, that kind of attitude. In fact, when he said it and then he just walked away, all of us were like, okay. And what happens is, basically the whole time he is non-existent. He literally sits there with his iPad and he's literally looking at different websites. And we return to him and like, what do you think? Like, the chief is asking us a question, he'll be like, you guys decide. You know, I'm closed-mouthed. His keyword was closed-mouthed, which is quiet. So that was one of his excuses where he never had to interact with anybody. So he literally would do this, and then we'll travel along. And he himself is saying he doesn't want to give any input. So we're traveling, so we're making all the decisions. And then out of the blue, he would just jump out and try to kill the group, basically. Basically at the front of, in the middle of the path, a group of dragonkin. These are human-sized dragons, basically. You know, think humanoid dragons, alright? Now I know what you're thinking, he wants to kill dragons, right? But like even the DM was saying, don't mess with these guys. You guys it's not possible, basically, to kill them. Alright, so be careful. Even if you want to attack them, be smart about it. And this guy straight away was saying like, okay, we're gonna wait there, see what they do. And his character basically goes up and just jumps into the middle of the ceremony. You can tell that actually something bad was supposed to happen. But DM, he's like, oh, you know, they talk to you and they understand. He didn't want to kill the group, basically, I'm quite sure. And this happens a lot. So basically, even when we met up with this world famous character in Golatra, alright, he basically tries to attack her. Again, DM doesn't want to try to kill him, so, you know, he got him hurt and all that, but it was like, he literally is trying to kill the group. It was a horrible situation. So that session ends. We're all done, and then the DM's wife, you know, it's nice that they say, why don't we drive you to the train station? Because it's a long walk and it was getting really late for the last train. And we're appreciative and all that. So here's the thing, DM is a Irishman who has come to Singapore and he married an Asian lady. Okay? So what happened, we got in the car with her and we're just doing small talk. We're talking, alright, because we won't be there for long. But as we're talking and I was doing most of the talking, you know, at one point when I kept quiet, he actually said this very uncomfortable comment that, oh, your husband's a foreigner, does he like to drink a lot and play around? And he's like, oh, you know, it's like, who says that? So, you know, that session ended. And so the third session happened, and this is where, basically this was the last session. What happened was that we were planning, and we had planned in advance a day. Then after that, it started to rain on the day itself. Now remember that he lives the nearest. Alright, and so finally, we were talking about the rain and all that because of my distance issue, that I might be late. But I said, don't worry, I'm still going. So I'm on the way there, and halfway through, when I'm halfway there, I'm going across the country, he basically just, you know, he kept saying like, I might come, I might not come, and I get all the way there, and he says, you know what, I'm not coming. Literally, like he lives the closest, and he just goes, you know, and that's the thing, he is this irresponsibility also. He just literally out of the blue, when he didn't feel like it, and just said at the absolute last minute, when there's no turning back, I'm just not going to turn up. So basically we turned out and we're like, what are we going to do? So we just continued the game, and that's from there it just fell apart. You know, truth be told, the DM's a fantastic person, but his RPG DMing was very railroady. Travel time for me was just, it became not worth it, and we had to deal with this guy. So, you know, the whole thing just fell apart, and basically that's where it ended. But then after that, I started to see in the book, and I started to board game regularly, that he started to come into all these different groups. You know, he was actually there before me, in fact, and he always had the same pattern. You can tell that people didn't want to play him because he would come into these different board game groups, gaming groups, and say like, I want to play, for example, Wings of War. And they would say like, people would of course come in interested and all. But then after that week where they play with him, the whole thing just disappears. Then he will hold a session at this place called Dueller's Point, and it will just disappear again. So you can tell that he has no choice. That's the thing. No one will play him regularly, so he will always try to set up all these games and all that, but it never continues. Alright, like a human repellent basically. People play with him and they just go, whoa. No, he doesn't have social skills too, which doesn't help the situation. So in conclusion, moral of the story, pretty simple. Social etiquette. One, like I said before, no one's looking for a say. Just be normal. Just be normal. And number two, if you want to post on social media, either you explain yourself or you better be responsible, because as you can see with him, with all his social commentary and all that, and how he carries himself, literally people just see that and instantly don't want to deal with you. So, moral of the story, be very careful, or either explain yourself. And that's another Terrible Tales of Gaming Horror. Thank you very much. Till next word.